Beginning, the servant of the stars. The first thing I learned on Zolthia Prime was never to meet the Queen's eyes. The second was that her armor, her radiant obsidian carapace lined with living veins of gold, was sacred. Only the chosen hands of her servants could touch it. I, a lowly human prisoner from a failed diplomatic mission, was one of them. They called me Earthborn. A title that sounded almost like an insult here. The Zalthians, tall, luminous-skinned beings with eyes that shimmered like nebulae, were the ruling species of the Orion Dominion. To them, humanity was primitive, useful only as servants, or sometimes trophies of conquest. When I was brought before Queen Aris Veyra, I expected death. Instead, she spared me. Her reason was as cruel as it was curious. "He has steady hands," she had said. "Let him serve where precision is worshipped." That was how I became her armor keeper. Each dawn, I was led through the shimmering corridors of her palace walls that pulsed faintly with bioluminescent veins, like a living organism breathing around me. The air smelled faintly of ozone and some kind of floral scent that reminded me of Earth's springtime, though no flowers grew on Zolthia. The Queen's chamber was immense, its ceiling lost in shifting constellations. And at its heart stood the armor of Aetherion, the divine regalia said to be fused with the lifeblood of ancient stars. It gleamed in the pale blue light, humming faintly with a sound that wasn't quite mechanical nor organic. Every morning, I'd approach it with trembling hands. Every morning, she watched me. At first, she was silent, a goddess carved from living starlight, her face unreadable beneath her crystalline crown. But soon, she began to speak. "Do you fear me, Earthborn?" "Yes, my queen." "Good," she said once. "Fear preserves life longer than courage." That was my world. Clean, polish, obey, survive. But the day she whispered, "Don't be shy, human," everything changed. Middle, the armor and the secret beneath. It happened during the 12th cycle of the Crimson Moon, when the Dominion prepared for war against a rebellious star clan. The Queen's armor had to be immaculate for the ceremonial march. I was summoned to her private hall earlier than usual. When I entered, she was already there without her armor. That was unheard of. Her form was both beautiful and alien, tall, sleek, her skin a deep shade of violet with veins of silver light running beneath it. Her hair shimmered like liquid mercury, flowing as if underwater. She stood near the armor stand, watching the distant storms flicker through the translucent walls. "Come, Earthborn," she said softly. "Today, you will clean it while I watch." Her tone was different. Not commanding, not cruel. Almost curious. I approached slowly, my eyes on the armor. As my gloved fingers traced the edges of its radiant plates, a vibration pulsed through it, alive, like it was aware of my touch. "It responds to intent," the Queen said. "The armor knows fear from devotion." "It feels alive," I murmured. "It is," she replied. "It drinks from the will of its keeper. From your fear, perhaps." She stepped closer. I could feel the heat radiating from her, an impossible warmth, tinged with something magnetic. I felt her presence at my shoulder, then her voice brushed against my ear like a current. "Don't be shy, human." My hand froze mid-motion. Her reflection shimmered across the armor's surface, eyes of molten gold meeting mine. Why do you speak to me like this, my queen?" I stammered. She studied me, her lips curving faintly. "Because you look at me as if I am something you wish to understand, not worship. That is rare among my kind." It was then that I realized she was lonely. Rulers of galaxies often are. In the days that followed, her commands grew less formal. She began to ask about Earth. About the colors of its skies, the sound of its oceans, the way humans dreamed. Sometimes, she would watch me work for hours in silence. Other times, she would stand close, too close, her voice soft, her scent strange and intoxicating. "Do you ever wish to go home, Earthborn?" "Every day," I said. "And yet, you stay alive here. That makes you more Zalthian than you think." There was something in her eyes then, something that unsettled me. That night, I overheard 2 guards whispering outside the chamber. "The Queen grows restless. They say she keeps the human alive because he reminds her of the lost prince. The one killed by her own council. Hush, before the walls listen." The next morning, when I looked into her eyes, I thought I saw sadness there. A grief that had never faded. And for the first time, I pitied her. Middle, the spark of rebellion. War came sooner than anyone expected. Explosions rippled through the night sky as rebel fleets entered Zolthian orbit. The palace walls shuddered under the shockwaves of orbital strikes. I was in the armor chamber when the alarms began to scream. The Queen entered, draped in her battle robes. "The rebels have reached the city," she said, her voice steady but her eyes burning. "Help me prepare." Without hesitation, I lifted each piece of the sacred armor and fastened it onto her. It felt heavier than before, its pulse deep and mournful. When I secured the final plate, she placed her hand on mine. "You will stay here," she ordered. "No," I said, surprising even myself. "If this palace falls, you'll need someone to help you escape." For a heartbeat, silence. Then, her lips curved into a smile that was both proud and sad. "You speak like one of my generals," she said. "Very well. Stay close." We fled through the corridors as explosions lit the horizon. Alien fire rained through the atmosphere. Soldiers fell around us, shouting in languages I barely understood. I saw her strike down an enemy with a single gesture, the armor glowing like a second sun. But even a queen could bleed. A blast struck nearby, throwing us both to the ground. I saw crimson light slicing across her shoulder. She staggered, her armor cracked, energy flickering like a dying star. I caught her before she fell. "Leave me," she gasped. "No. Not this time." I tore part of my sleeve to press against her wound, my trembling hands useless against her alien physiology. Yet she looked at me not with pain, but disbelief. "You would die for me," she whispered. "I don't want to. But I can't let you die alone." Her eyes softened. And for the first time since I'd known her, she smiled without pride. "Then perhaps," she murmured, "you are not as human as you think." Ending the Queen's punishment and the human's choice. When the battle ended, the palace was ruins of crystal and ash. The rebellion failed, but at a terrible cost. The council blamed the Queen for her compassion, for showing weakness, for sparing a human. They stripped her of her crown, her armor, her throne. I expected her to execute me in rage. Instead, she summoned me one last time to the chamber where I had first cleaned her armor. The walls were cracked, the armor shattered beyond repair. Yet she stood tall, radiant even in defeat. "Do you know why they truly fear me, Earthborn?" she asked quietly. "Because you loved something they couldn't understand," I said. Her eyes met mine and I saw tears of starlight gathering there. "You have given me what even my empire could not, a choice." She turned toward the wrecked armor. "This armor was meant to protect me, but it kept me prisoner within it. You taught me to remove it.